I'm Justin Betty. Today, after a few days of beautiful dry weather, locals are making some progress in their flood fights across the valley. The Minnesota National Guard is now helping the North Dakota National Guard with their CH-47 Chinook helicopter. You see it here, placing pumps to Bourbonnais Dam. Officials say the pumps are meant to relieve pressure there. But authorities want to remind everyone access to that dam is prohibited right now. Meanwhile, in Lisbon, North Dakota, the flood wall put in place along Highway 27 is coming down. The Cheyenne Bridge will reopen very soon. But we're not out of the woods just yet, as despite the nice conditions across most of the area today, more rain is expected to move through soon. First Alert Storm Team Chief Meteorologist Hutch Johnson joins us now with your first look at the forecast. Hutch.
Yeah, we have a lot to talk about. Beautiful weather out there right now. Temperatures across the region are near 70 degrees. We're better than that out in Brainerd and up near Roseau and Lake of the Woods. Let's go full screen on the radar. Here's a little bit of shower activity moving into the area of impact in the Devil's Lake Basin. Now it's fairly light and it's moving at about 30 miles per hour off to the east. Still a couple of hours out from Devil's Lake. Some locally heavier stuff forming out in the western Dakotas. This is small potatoes based on what we've seen lately. But we do have some significant rain coming onto the weekend ahead. Now, the river levels in the northern valley are all oscillating either up or down just a little bit over the last 6 hours. The Pembina at Netchie still a problem, as we talked about moments ago, and the red at Pembina still rising through the weekend and then hovering right at that 52.5-foot level. Here's a look at the trace on the Pembina River there at Netchie as the battle continues. Thanks to the National Guard and everyone for helping keep things at bay as possible. We're still watching very closely that Cheyenne River down the stream from Valley City as it goes and winds through that Lisbon area and on into the Red River near the Harwood area. Here's the Cheyenne River at Kindred, expected to be cresting as we go through your Saturday. First Alert weather days, Justin, are called for Saturday night into Sunday morning, a round of rain, and another round of rain late Sunday night into Monday morning. Overnight systems that could impact rivers locally. I'll have the very latest in your forecast in a minute.
All right, thanks, Hutch. New at 4, Grand Forks police and federal agents seize computer disks and other items from the home of North Dakota's longest-serving state senator. This comes after a revelation that Ray Holmberg traded scores of text messages with a man in jail on child pornography charges. According to a police report just obtained this week, a Grand Forks police detective and 2 Homeland Security special agents searched Holmberg's home back on November 17th. It says Holmberg was present during the search, but we still don't know what was on the CDRs or DVD-Rs. The search came about 3 months after Holmberg exchanged 72 text messages with Nicholas James Morgan DeRozier while he was held in the Grand Forks County Jail. Holmberg is being represented by attorney Mark Freese, who says he has not seen the search warrant and had difficulty getting information from state and federal authorities on why his client is even being investigated. Right now, police are searching for a person they believe stabbed someone in South Fargo early this morning. Officers say a 24-year-old man called 911 saying he was stabbed in the stomach around 5 this morning. This happened in the area of 25th Street, just south of 13th Avenue. When our team arrived, police were using a loudspeaker to tell someone to surrender. But despite a 2-hour search with the help of a canine unit, police weren't able to find the suspect.
I think if someone's armed with a knife and stabs someone, that individual is dangerous. But until we know more about the particular incident, I can tell you that we've canvassed the area and we haven't located any suspects or any other potential threats. So I think just in general, be aware, and if you see the person of interest, please give us a call.
Police say keep an eye out for a white man in his mid to late 20s with long dark hair. There's a picture of him here. He's last seen, as you see, wearing a red shirt and dark pants, the yellow and black head covering. The victim was conscious when police arrived, was then taken to a local hospital with a deep cut to his stomach area. We now know the superintendent of public works in Otter Tail County, Bernie Stash, will continue receiving pay while he sits in jail. City officials in Harwood held a special meeting earlier today to discuss what to do while Stash is detained. As we first told you earlier this week, Stash was arrested for domestic assault and making terroristic threats. following what police are calling a domestic violence situation on Sunday. A woman says she was able to escape and run from the home. The SWAT team was brought in. Court documents say during that standoff, Stash waved and pointed a gun. He'll now be on paid administrative leave pending an internal investigation. Minnesota will host the 2026 Special Olympics USA Games. The governor announced today will be the single biggest sporting event in the country that year as far as people involved go. It's projected to bring in about 115,000 people and $70 million to the state. The University of Minnesota will be one of the host sites, providing athletic, medical, and housing spaces for the event. The games happen every 4 years. This summer it's set to take place in Orlando. Minnesota beat out 3 other states for the honor in 2026. Tonight we've learned the U.S. provided intelligence to Ukraine that led to last month's sinking of one of Russia's most essential warships. A senior defense official says the U.S. provided the location but had no role in the decision to actually strike it. Meanwhile, there's word of a third rescue operation now underway in Mariupol to help the remaining civilians still trapped inside a steel plant there. Charlie D'Agata reports from Ukraine.
Amid a shattered truce, heavy fighting breaking out, and Russian troops trying to finish off remaining fighters. Hundreds of civilians remain trapped in the middle of what has become a fight to the death at the steelworks in Mariupol. The Red Cross confirming to CBS News tonight another rescue operation is underway following the successful evacuation of more than 400 civilians.
It's a very difficult and dangerous operation. It's an active conflict, so the routes might be dangerous. There might be active fighting ongoing in the surrounding areas.
The Russian offensive has already moved on from Mariupol. A U.S. official tells CBS News around 10,000 troops have pushed north, part of an advance that has swallowed towns in its path. Like Azov, north of Mariupol, from where this family told us they escaped with their lives. After surviving the massacre in Bucha herself, Yuka Malachenko begged her family to flee from the south. I was just saying, please get out of there, please just leave, she said. Is the whole family back together now? Yes, 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 she said. Despite Russia's persistent onslaught, Ukrainian forces are holding the line with significant help from U.S. weapons and intelligence. Intelligence that has enabled Ukrainian forces to target and kill a number of Russian generals since the war began. There's further U.S. intelligence to suggest that Russia will try to forcibly annex the eastern regions of Donetsk and Luhansk, as well as the southern city of Kherson in the coming weeks, even as the battle for those regions continues.
Charlie D'Agata reporting. In Washington today, senators are heading home from the weekend to hear from constituents ahead of a planned vote next week, making abortion rights legal nationwide. It's not expected to pass. If Roe v. Wade is struck down by the Supreme Court, though, abortion rights would then be decided by individual states. Republicans remain opposed to this Democratic bill and are weighing their own bill to put nationwide restrictions on abortion. Some have proposed a more narrow bill to codify Roe but still keep protections for those who oppose abortion on religious grounds. The Supreme Court's final decision on Roe isn't expected for another couple months, but state and legal experts are already anticipating what could be a wave of legal battles.
I think it brings up a lot of new questions. For instance, there are states that are trying to say, not only can we ban abortions within our state, but we're going to try to ban our residents from traveling into another state.
Citing Supreme Court Justice Alito's draft opinion, Republican state lawmakers in Louisiana advanced a bill through the House committee classifying abortion as homicide. That bill, which also classifies life as beginning at fertilization, still has to be voted on in the full legislature there. COVID cases are once again rising across the country, and a team of researchers from the University of Cambridge and Imperial College in London in the UK are discovering that for some people, the effects of the virus on the brain can be devastating. CBS' Ian Lee reports.
As people fight for their lives with extreme cases of COVID, the virus is also damaging their brains in some cases.
Cognitive decline that you would see for someone between the ages of about 50 and 70 years.
Researchers in the UK discovered that the virus is causing some people to lose their mental capacity, equivalent to aging 20 years. Using a state-of-the-art computer program, they tested 46 patients' abilities in language, memory, and concentration.
So the more severe the initial illness, the greater the scale of the cognitive problems.
Some theories for why this happens includes a lack of oxygen to the brain, along with inflammation. But the effects of aging so quickly can be life-changing.
The impact of that on your ability to cope with everyday life or your job would be pretty substantial.
Can you recover from this?
Quite a few of these patients may not be able to, for example, return to work. Some of them may not ever actually completely recover their cognitive faculties.
Researchers insist this only affects a small number of people who've had COVID.
Is there anything I can do to prevent this?
Probably the best thing you could do to try and prevent this happening is to make sure you're fully vaccinated.
Scientists add vaccines not only reduce the severity of COVID, but also the risks of brain damage. Ian Lee, CBS News, London.